All right, question of the day. I think it's time for us to maybe get somewhat controversial because we're 1 month away from the election, and I think it's hard for us to not talk about the election. We're 1 month away, right? So we typically don't talk about politics much unless it's affecting crypto, and now we think more than ever it's going to be affecting everybody. So we would like to have you tell us what you think. So go to menti.com, menti.com, and use the code 7778010. That's 7778010. And yeah, I mean, because this was a question I knew I would personally be getting from our audience 1 month away to the election, especially when it comes to our own personal opinions, right? Obviously, everyone has different opinions when it comes to the presidency or elections. For those who know me for a while, I'm basically a registered independent, right? So I don't lean Democrat or Republican or anybody, right? I believe in just being a free agent every election and being able to go to somebody that will really benefit what you are trying to do, right? So from that standpoint, there is, I would say, a rational self-interest perspective, but in a way, I think it's also for a greater good, right? So curious to know what everyone thinks. But so my standpoint is this. When it comes to the tax policy, because I know we've covered taxes in the past, why do most investors, well, basically Wall Street, why do they lean towards Trump over Biden? Because I did a poll on my Twitter, and I was actually pretty surprised, right? So we had about over 1,300 people voted, and 54% voted for Trump. And I did the same poll on my Instagram. That one was different. That was about 51% voted for Biden, right? But obviously, each polls will kind of skew more towards our audience base. But amongst investors, why do investors or Wall Street, why do they lean heavily towards Trump? And I actually did do some research here, and I came across this image here. Right? Obviously, most people watching this stream are investors. So if you're an investor and you're thinking, okay, which president is going to affect me the most as I try to make money investing in crypto? Right? So the main thing this is for people in the US. If you're in the US, looking at the capital gains and dividend tax, right? So currently with Trump, this is from the taxfoundation.org and crfb.org. So Trump's capital gains tax rate will be 23%, basically 24%. Joe Biden plans to double that to over 43%. So I don't know about you, but I haven't met many investors who want to pay more taxes. Now they'll talk about it, but I think it's one of those things that's I don't think it's the right move. I think if Joe Biden is trying to propose this, I think it's going to be very tough for him to win the investing crowd. And I don't think that's the audience he's trying to target, but still, because at the end of the day, the rich people, the top 1%, they have the resources to still manage to avoid paying taxes, whether it's going offshore or what have you. So it's really the other people who don't have the resources that end up getting affected the most, right? And I believe in free markets. I believe in basically as little taxes as possible, right? Then even for entrepreneurs, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, currently the corporate tax rate is 21%, right? With Trump, Joe Biden is basically going to raise taxes all across the board, right? And to me that I find that very, very scary. And to a point, I mean, even right now. So actually, I'm in Florida at the moment, and I'm looking into possibly moving again. For those who know, last year I came to Florida, but ended up kind of getting out of it. But basically, long story short, I'm looking to move to either Florida or Texas to minimize my tax footprint when it comes to state taxes. And then from there, I'll be looking through obviously legal means to minimize taxes when it comes to investing, because it's already stressful having to worry about making gains, but then trying to make sure you protect those gains, right? And I think tax planning is something lots of investors have to think about, right? And I'm not surprised when we see lots of people on Wall Street getting out of the markets, because if they see that Biden wins, this could mean they could pay twice as much in taxes. Let me stop there for now. Bill, any comments or thoughts?
Sure, a few. So, Joe Biden wants to double the capital gains tax on an aging population. Well, he can say that, but good luck getting that through Congress. Now, that said, okay, Trump is clearly the capital markets friendly president, although I'm not sure about these regulators that he's got. These guys are kind of on the warpath, but he's clearly the capital markets friendly president. Now, here's what bugs me about the election. I think if people went to the polls and Joe Biden was the winner, I think the American people, at least on the Trump side, would eventually accept it, and Biden would have a really hard time getting all this, tax craziness through Congress. Okay. However, I think if Joe Biden wins because Donald Trump is either incapacitated or viewed as sick, it would almost be like losing a huge football rivalry by forfeit, right? Mm-hmm. And the Trump side of the equation, the people may not accept the results. It might be sort of like they may see it as an unfair contest, all right? Because the guy is sick. Now, that makes a Joe Biden presidency kind of a double whammy, right? It's not capital markets friendly, okay? And it could make the other side, okay? It could make them upset, and they could take to the streets, and we could have more social disorder for a while, okay? Yeah. So, if the president of the United States wasn't sick, the choice for a capital markets friendly president was clear. If Joe Biden wins, there's even more uncertainty now than there would be, and there was a lot to begin with.
Yeah. Now, just kind of add my comments to that as well. So, looking at both candidates, from my perspective, first of all, I definitely don't co-sign anything Trump says. I'm looking purely at taxes, right? So obviously there are other ways to do that, but one of the benefits if Joe Biden does win, I think, would be crypto regulation, right? So from talking to our securities attorney who worked in the Reagan administration, he's basically advised us that pretty much Jay Clayton, who's the current SEC chairman, has done everything to kill crypto innovation in America. And if Biden were to win, pretty much almost anybody would be more friendly towards crypto than the current person we have in office now, right? So I think so it's kind of like at least to me it's very difficult because at one point it's like, do we bring in somebody who's going to be better than Jay Clayton that will help crypto regulation and compliance and all that stuff and innovation, or do we bring somebody who's gonna be capital markets friendly, right? So I mean, but I think what investors should do is be prepared for both, right? Because anything is possible, right? Because last election, I actually thought that Donald Trump was going to win, right? Because I was seeing how things were happening, and I don't really watch mainstream media because I've always known it's biased. It's kind of like they put you inside this echo chamber and you think the world is one way, then you get shocked when the world is a different way, right? So when everyone was shocked that Trump won, I was not shocked, right? Because actually there are lots of other people as well who had lots of good analysis on this. One of the persons who did I think Scott Adams, right? So he has a great book that actually goes through how he was able to kind of predict it. But everything is unknown, everything's unexpected, but just hedge, be prepared to kind of, for anything to happen. I think if Trump does win, there'll be lots of social tension. And I mean, nobody knows what's gonna happen, but just make sure that your money and your investments in crypto are protected for either option. Now let me check in here with the comments and see how we're doing. Hester Pierce should be the leader. Yeah, I mean, Hester Pierce, Crypto Mom, she's been very, very friendly. Okay, Awoken says, good take. Thank you, we appreciate that. Samir says, check Nomad Capitalist YouTube videos. Crypto people are taking Canadian. Okay, crypto people going to Canada. Actually, so I do watch his videos on, and they're great. I mean, honestly speaking, I've even looked into not being an American, right? Because I've seen other crypto investors go to tax-free places and basically stop being American, right? Denounce being American. But to me, the only thing holding me back is just family, right? So I don't have any tensions at the moment. But I do have other people in my network who did go to Puerto Rico for Tax 20, or I'm sorry, Act 20 and Act 22. But I'm not sure if that's still available. But I know that as crypto starts to peak and go up again a lot more, and people are making more money, ourselves as well, those strategies do become more vital, right? Because I know me back in 2017 bull run, I did not think about taxes at all. And once you've made money, then you realize how much money you have to pay Uncle Sam. It's not a good feeling, right? Because at one point, I looked at my tax bill and I was like, I pretty much paid the state of Maryland about 70 grand in taxes. And I told myself, that's like somebody's annual income. I was like, is the state of Maryland doing that much for me at this point in time? So that's when I realized, okay, you know what? There are lots of other things to do, right? Obviously, we've tried other things as well. We've tried having the offshore entities and everything. But even that, there is some downside to that, right? Obviously, I can't go into everything, but there are lots of middlemen and lots of rent seekers trying to make money on people trying to go overseas, right? But anyway, we've kind of been going all over the place. But let's go back to the question of the day. All right, so question of the day, our audience has said, who do you want to win the US presidential election? Wow, okay, in the landslide, Joe Biden. Now, I find this very, very interesting. So from our audience on YouTube, it seems it's leaning heavily towards Joe Biden. Then our audience on Twitter was leaning heavily towards Donald Trump. So I find it very, very interesting that different platforms have different, I guess, different people. Bill, anything to add before we wrap up this controversial topic?
Well, I mean, people may be changing their mind based on what's happening with Trump and the virus, right? Like,
pandemic.
Crypto people are probably in the middle, right? I mean, you know, who do we want to be president? Well, we want Crypto Mom to be president. That's who we want, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if people in the middle may gravitate towards Biden because the current president is sick, it's as simple as that.
Okay, so Chester has a good question. What would the crypto markets do if the results of the election were contested? I think there would be a crash. The people would hedge and not have that uncertainty. What do you think, Bill?
Okay, so if the election winds up in court, I actually think that's slightly less dramatic for crypto. I think we would probably, I don't know, we would probably be tied to whatever happens with equities. But actually, if it wound up in court, that would mean it was close. I mean, if you'd asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I'd have been like, ooh, that's bad. But if it was actually in court, that would mean it was like close, right? So if the capital markets president who is sick it's close enough to go to court, that actually might be considered good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I think it all depends on who ends up winning. Okay, let's go to the next.
Now, what's life like in the streets? I don't know, but
Yeah.
you know, that I don't, you know, I'm glad we don't have that kind of show.
Okay, so Walker says, Ian, who do you think? And Bill, okay, Ian and Bill, who do you think will be the best for DeFi innovation? I think Biden will be the best for DeFi innovation. Trump hasn't been pro crypto or Bitcoin. Obviously, he's made some posts on Twitter that aren't pro Bitcoin or crypto. Even though what he's done from a tax standpoint has been pro Wall Street, which or pro investing and capital markets, which has been pro crypto and indirectly. All right, but I think from a regulation standpoint, I think Biden and anybody besides the current SEC people would be better. Bill, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that, right? With Biden, we get somebody new, and we've seen what these guys can do when they go on the warpath, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, any regulators, but the current regulators could be an improvement.
Okay. Joanna says, have you considered to cash out in gold or silver and then cash out from there into fiat? Just wondering. Not me personally. I haven't thought about that. That's not something I think about. I've thought about getting into Pax Gold and having exposure to gold through crypto, but not that route. Okay, then one last question from the final boss. Actually, great name, very fitting for this. The final boss with the final question. Would there be an impact on crypto markets if another stimulus bill is passed? I mean, I think that would be very, very positive based on the last bill. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, I think a stimulus bill is going to be focused on giving money to families, because clearly the money from the last stimulus bill wind up in Robinhood and then into Tesla stock. But I do think a stimulus bill is good as long as it doesn't impact the bond market. Okay. So giving everybody trillions of dollars that we don't have is good. It could wind up in the crypto market, but I don't think I would be like, yeah, it's terrific because of what could happen with bonds. Right? Remember, in 2018, stocks didn't wreck crypto, bonds did. Interest rates. So, you know, be careful what you wish for on stimulus.
Okay. D-Rich says no state tax in Texas, and the cost of living is cheap in Houston. Come on down. Well, actually, I mean, so I do plan to stop by Texas next. I've been looking heavily into Austin because for those who know, Austin has a huge tech scene, huge entrepreneur scene. Lots of people have been leaving New York and California to escape taxes and just, I guess, whatever political reasons they have, and going to Texas, right? So especially Austin, right? So Austin is the fastest growing city in all of America, which is pretty crazy. And I've never been, so definitely want to check that out. So I'll be there, but I'm not sure whether I'll move there. I kind of want to go there and kind of see what the vibe is like. All right, great question, great comments. Appreciate it. Tell us what you think down in the comments below.